Good evening, everyone. We are live. Welcome to another, I never know what to call it, episode, edition. It's not a podcast. It's like a Facebook Live. It's on YouTube. Broadcast? Broadcast. I think that's what I'm going to stick with. Broadcast. Another broadcast of Never Mind the Buy Box. Hopefully we are live. Oh, that's interesting. I was just logging into my phone to see what was what, and it told me that YouTube we've gone live. So that's the first time I've ever seen that, actually. So it looks like there's quite a bit of a delay on the thing tonight because I've only just started seeing people popping up. So let me find the live video on here as well so I can jump in and get the comments. So there's Sean. Evening, Jamie. Oh, hi, Luke, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Sorry, it's just me rabbiting away, carrying on. Are we live on Facebook? Yes, we are as well. That's cool. I just want to
that timer that pops up in that corner is so slow. I don't actually know if that timer is even. You just said, oh, are we on Facebook? And then the timer just went 1 second, 2 seconds. You know that live thing in the corner of this screen, of this current screen that we have.
Oh, what? Yeah. Oh no, that
little...
yeah. What, the red one?
Yeah.
That goes live as soon as I hit live. So that's the true reflection.
Oh, does it? It doesn't show up, or it doesn't actually show up when so it's not the same time for me. That came up that came up about a minute in for me. Oh, yeah, I noticed it twice now. Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter really, does it? If all people get here.
As interesting as it is, I know people don't come to to listen to us talking about, is the live notification? We're just waiting for a few people to jump on. So Janet says, evening, guys. As usual, have you on YouTube whilst getting the prep done. Cindy says, hi. Hi, Cindy. Sean says, got the YouTube notification, but not Facebook. Now, that's interesting, actually, because the numbers appear to be quite a lot higher on YouTube at the moment than they are on Facebook. So,
although the first thing that came up pretty much as soon as it happened was, I don't know if you can see it, it's there at the top. Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, what I want to do tonight, actually, guys, I want to do a little bit of an experiment, if it's okay. We're going to talk about Luke's success at the moment, because I think it really needs to be celebrated, because Luke is absolutely smashing it out the park at the moment. So I'll come back and say hello to everyone in a minute. Oh no, let me say hello first to everyone that's joined. So I say hi, Hayden, Sarah, Indra's watching us on YouTube. Sean says, how much is Luke's sales day? We'll come on to Luke's sales in a moment. Hi, Natalie and Luke. Philip's joined us. Kate, Donna, Arturus, Daphne.
What the hell?
What was that?
It was the chair. Just suddenly like.
That would have been so funny if you'd have gone back. Oh my God!
I think it was meant to go that far back. I just think it didn't. It just jammed, and then I fell back.
Oh right, okay. Oh my God, that was never.
I'll be careful.
That would be like a "you've been framed" moment. So hi, Paul. Hi, Luke. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Binay. Hi, Luke Colwell. Hayden. He got a Facebook notification. Evening, Philip.
I actually have two notifications on the other. Yeah.
That's interesting. Tony says, "Yo." Hayden says that is an LED. I think it's an LED light. I don't know, but it's blinding me. You can see like every single.
And I look so dark compared to you. I look like I'm sort of like a little bit of a shadow.
Makes your teeth look really white with this light. It's like it must be LED. It makes your teeth look really, really white. Right. What I want to do tonight. Yeah, John said that was funny. Absolutely. Simon says, "Oh, bless him. His daughter's here on a pre-lockdown visit, so catch up." Absolutely, Simon. Spend time with your daughter. That's really important. Yeah, it's interesting. Some people saying they're getting Facebook. Right. What I want to do tonight before we get started as a little bit of an interactive kind of experiment as well. And I'm curious on this. And by the way, spoiler alert, this isn't political. I don't want any comments to do with what I'm going to say or anything like that. I'm really interested to know who people think is going to win the US election tonight. So in the comments, I would just like you to put either Trump or Biden for who you think's going to win, because whoever does win is actually going to have that's going to have an impact on what happens to us with Brexit and everything like that. Now, I don't want to turn this into a political episode about which one is the right candidate to win or which one is the wrong candidate to win. I'm just really interested to hear people's thoughts because it's going to be a really close call. I know you probably don't.
Actually, I watched like a YouTube about a time traveler, and he said that Trump gets re-elected. So that's either he's right, and if he's wrong, then I know not to listen to all the other things he said.
It does sound like a really credible source, Luke.
Yeah, exactly. I make sure that I go straight to the.
you go straight to the top to get the answers. Wow, look at that. That is interesting. I think one person said Biden so far. Who said, "Oh, there's an election"?
Matt, I think.
Oh, is that Matt Webley?
No, no. Hang on. Yes, yeah.
Comments.
I was just checking.
Yeah, comments are a bit all over the place tonight, so that's weird. Yeah, Trump. Everyone's saying Trump. So, yeah, that's crazy actually, because the I know all the betting money is going on Trump. That's where all the smart money's going. But in terms of the polls and everything like that, everyone's saying it's going to be Biden. But I agree. Whoever said it was that's the camp that I'm in. I don't know. I'm going to go to bed tonight not knowing who it's going to be, and I think we'll wake up in the morning, and we might not even know when we wake up in the morning. Oh, it's my husband. Whoever.
It's interesting because they say that like Trump should be the one that helps the stock market because of the things that he tries to do for businesses, like because he's a businessman, like that kind of thing. And the stock markets are up today in most countries, like 2%. It's interesting because I watched like a guy that talks about this, not just like the stocks, but indices, like there's all the different commodities, everything there is. And like one of the things he says is that usually he doesn't trade this period because the action in the stock markets is representing like, it's obviously from data. Yeah, that's a data-driven market. And normally what he thinks if it was going to be like obviously, and not that it obviously makes a difference in the end. If one person gets it tomorrow, it'll be like is it open tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow would be like a negative day or whatever to obviously compensate. But it's interesting, like looking at the stock markets that have gone up today to maybe even more to and a bit percent in America and stuff. And that would then, in my mind, be like, oh, so that's more saying that they think Trump's going to do it because it wouldn't it wouldn't go up. Definitely in those kind of markets, 2.5% more than decent.
Yeah.
So even though I don't really know, and some of the things do say Biden, like some of the, if you look at the bookies, it's slightly in favor of, unless I'm completely wrong. But
I think oddly enough, and I think this is what happened last time, was all the betting money was being betted on Trump to win, but the odds favored Clinton, and I think that's what they're saying again this time. So the odds favored Biden, but all the money's still being bet on Trump. But obviously, it's a very convoluted kind of system because generally, Hillary won the popular vote last time, but Trump won it on the electoral college votes. So he won it on a point system essentially. And I think that could be this. I think a lot of people are saying Biden will definitely win the popular vote, but whether he wins the election, it's. I agree with. I do agree with what Simon says, and it's kind of the reason why I brought it up. I wouldn't have brought it up if it didn't have or wouldn't have an impact on our Brexit. Obviously, that Trump is obviously pro Brexit and Biden isn't. So a lot of people are saying that it's going to depend on Boris. That's going to, Boris is waiting to see the outcome of the election as to whether he really pushes for a deal or no deal with the European Union. So, but I don't want to hurt,
people are going to start going to leave in a minute if we carry on too long.
Yeah, exactly. If we carry on too long about Trump or Biden. But it was interesting just to hear people's thoughts on that. But we will know, obviously, in about 12 hours time who's won it and who hasn't anyway.
I think Alaska's at 6 a.m. That's the last. I don't know why I even looked at. They can go up. They can vote up to 6 a.m. at UK time. GMT.
Yeah, definitely, Alex. There's move
yes,
on.
we're moving on.
By the way,
of course.
Yeah, I've got the answer to your question, Alex, as well. So maybe we will deal with that first. So Alex asked a question in the Facebook group this week: what impact the CE marks are going to have on sellers moving forward. So I think it's July. I've got the information up here. So again, it's still relatively kind of new information, but CE marks are what sort of safety marks that go on certain types of products, toys and things like that. It's what a manufacturer has to obtain to prove that it fits in with certain safety standards to be sold in the EU. Now, obviously, moving forward, we're not going to be part of the EU, so it changes with regards to what certain safety standards. Now, the easiest way to say this is obviously, and the easiest answer for me to say at this stage is if you're an arbitrage seller, it doesn't really impact you that much. It's only really impacting on private label sellers more. Purely because if you're an arbitrage seller, then you are selling other people's products, and therefore it's down to them to ensure that the correct CE marks are applied and this responsible authorized person is allocated to that particular brand. So that's the simple answer. And in addition to that will be that as arbitrage sellers, then what we need to do is we have to ensure that any products that we buy moving forward do have the CE mark on them, and the brand has allocated this responsible person to be able to ensure that all CE mark products are covered for what they need to be covered for. Now, interestingly enough, Amazon is nominating themselves as a responsible person to do with this CE mark moving forward for private label sellers who sell through FBA. But what they haven't as yet said, I think at this stage, and I'm just going to double check on that. Yes, you will have to be brand registered. You'd have to go through the brand registry system to qualify as Amazon being the responsible person who is going to be the allocated person in the EU. It's very complicated. So, like I said, the simple answer really is to, for arbitrage sellers, it's not something we hugely have to worry about. We just have to make sure that we're being really diligent on the products that we're selling. So if you've got products like Mattel or Hasbro or Disney or the big kind of brands, you can bet your life, obviously, that they are going to ensure that they have a responsible person allocated to ensure that these CE marks are being correctly administered. So we don't need to worry too much about the big brands. What this is going to have undoubtedly an impact on is people who sell. Again, I know there's not loads in this particular community anyway. This is probably going to impact people that kind of drop ship products from China, like AliExpress. So generic products that don't have that CE mark and things like that. So, or maybe they have the CE mark, but they haven't allocated this responsible person. So I think it's going to cut out quite a lot of that for sellers. But essentially, from an arbitrage point of view, there's not a lot we have to worry about. It's more if you go down the private label route and your product requires a CE mark. So not all products require a CE mark. I think the list is, let's just have a look at toys, electronics, personal, so PPE, machinery, construction products, gas appliances, recreational, personal, watercraft, pressure vehicles, and measuring equipment. So, I mean, it's probably toys mainly, maybe PPE and electronics. That's going to have an impact from us from a selling point of view, unless you're selling something that's in one of those niche areas. So hopefully, does that answer the question for you, Alex? As times develops, we'll get some more information on it. But like I said, that's how I kind of understand it at the moment. That from an arbitrage point of view, we're generally okay. So hopefully Hopefully that answers the questions anyway. But Philip says it comes into force in July. Yes, July next year. So Philip says he bought some toys from South America via the UK wholesaler, got the safety documents, but it says there is no CE mark. Is that a problem? Well, it would only be a problem if it requires a CE mark, which toys generally do. So I would just investigate that a little bit further. So as I understand it, all toys to be sold in the EU require a CE mark. I don't know if you know anything different to that, Luke.
I don't really sell toys anymore, so I don't actually know. That's ultimately the answer.
Fair enough.
Not that I'm being naive to it or anything like that, but I've just never, it's just never been a time that I needed to get involved with that anyway.
No, that's fine. I mean, the majority of the toys that we would sell in the UK as resellers would automatically have the CE mark because it's a lot of big branded kind of products. But yes, absolutely. I think, as Matt says as well, I think it could be a problem. So it's definitely worth investigating whether or not, as I understand it, all toys require a CE mark to be sold as part of the European Union, which obviously we still technically are. I'm not sure if we are or not at the moment. Not 100% sure.
I think till the end of the year, I think we are.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if we are.
Well, it's at the end of the year anyway. We just say it's the end of the year, then.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of information obviously coming through about. I think over the coming weeks about what's going to be happening. I think that Amazon will be pushing some sort of brand new pan-European option because it's the only option for people moving forward. So I think as that information comes out, guys, we will obviously keep you updated about that moving forward with regards to what's happening with the EU. But we are here tonight to talk about everything that's going on with lockdown, with Q4, with how everyone's sales are going, with answering questions and things like that. So let's get to it. So Mr. FBA himself here, Luke Dugan. Do you know what? I really wanted tonight to say kind of congratulations and well done on what you're achieving at the moment in a non-patronizing kind of way, is because a lot of people, I've known you for a really long time, obviously, in this kind of virtual FBA kind of Amazon world. And you've stuck to your plan for a really long time. And you've had a clear goal of what you wanted to do. And for anyone that's following Luke will know that Luke is absolutely smashing it at the moment. It's like your evil plan.
It's a shame the prep's so expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine if but you wouldn't be able to be.
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't be able to do it if you hadn't have outsourced the prep. I'm absolutely.
I can't remember how many. I can't remember what kind of size or like volume I was doing. That's the problem. I can't like. It's a shame I didn't really. Maybe there must be a way to track. I could probably go back and have a look how much I was on average shipping per month. Okay, I guess I could go and see what I purchased actually and do it that way. But I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember what I was doing then compared to now what I'm doing. Of course, it's Q4, so I was kind of ramping up anyway. But it'd be interesting to see what my capacity was compared to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
And I think what's really interesting is that, I mean, whether or not I think you'll agree with this, and what I wanted to bring up with you tonight, predominantly, obviously the not turning points, you've always been a really successful you've always been a really successful seller, but where you went to kind of next level was during the last lockdown. Is that fair to say? Is that
it's because not that the lockdown, basically everything I was doing, even from last year, was exactly the same. But the problem is it takes just that little bit more capital, that little bit more outsourced, that little bit more like building, your sustainable list, little bit of it, basically just chipping away at every single aspect. And there's probably like 100 different areas of the Amazon business. Some of them are more complex than others. But chipping and improving on them, refining them over years. But obviously comparing it back to like last year, the year before, there's a huge change. But any week to week change is not massively noticeable differences. And then when lockdown came, that in theory, that was that was kind of like where I expected the Q4 for now to be, if you get what I mean. So but then I know that then next year, so it would have, so not that the whole, what sort of happened wouldn't be happening. It would just take it would just take longer to happen. Yeah. That was, because in theory I was still implementing all of the right strategies, but the time frames were slightly wrong because it sort of superseded everything. It just fast tracked everything. So everything I was doing was working out in the right way. Ultimately, it was down to capital just not having enough to be in stock on everything across 500 lines. It's, to have like over 100 grand in stock. I don't know, I don't even know what my total stock value is, but and not so much capital invested that you're able to plug all those holes. And usually that takes a couple of Q4s to build that momentum, because that's where you can really make a lot more compounding. The effect of compounding can happen mostly then, and then you can just chip away at all the other months as well. But to me, it's like a year segment. But in theory, last Q4 was the end of that year cycle, and then that was where I would then compound for this year. But within 3 months, 3 months was then the new year. Then there was a Q4 in April. So like that. So I basically almost got like a free, like an extra jump start year, where this time next, so in like, January next year would be where I would have been. You kind of get where I'm going with this. So, but it's not like that thing. It's not like I was getting lucky. All the things I was doing was like, oh, he just happened to be lucky in that area. I've strategically planned this. I'm trying to underline the underlying dynamics of the strategy and how it would work. And then the market is just fast track that philosophy, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, I think in arbitrage, I mean, people that are part of the Elite Sellers Academy will know through the training that we do on a weekly basis that Luke does things differently. He doesn't do things the same as everyone else. And it was part of the reason why I wanted to partner with Luke on the Elite Sellers Academy, because I knew that he had a very different perspective, and one that not everybody, one approach that not everybody, not one approach, several approaches not everyone does in this game. You kind of go against every single rule that you kind of taught with an arbitrage. You kind of do the opposite of most of it.
It only came about because there was, by doing it how everyone else did it, was like a surefire way just to get some pocket money in my mind. And if you got there, it would take so long to get there that the model might not even exist by the time you get there. And then obviously the risk of, the longer you don't get a return, but you're investing, the risk compounds because you could get suspended. So it's like you need to, while you can, you need to do it, if you kind of get where I'm going with it. If it was a lot easier and you knew it would be there for 20 years, you can take your time. But I was like, well, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. Like, where is it even going to exist then? Well, could it be suspended in 3? So I've got to do it in 3 years, or when? And I kind of, all those little things were like, yeah, I'll get there, but it's going to take me. It'll be too long from what I could see. The risk was too much relating to those little things, and that's why I had to just go like, well, how can I do it? And I thought, okay, so whatever people are doing, I'll just do the opposite and then try to make that work. And that's kind of where I went. But it started obviously with the little things that I was doing, like not having any expenses. It probably started with trying to cut back on all the expenses where everyone else was trying to outsource. Even now, people saying they want to outsource in their first year, I think it's like the ridiculous, like a stupid idea. I just think it's stupid in my mind. I'm like, even if you've got 20 grand,
don't hold back. Don't hold back.
I see it as like a very naive, I actually see it as a naive choice. Because if just because you want something doesn't mean you should be doing it. That's the opposite. It's not about you. But anyway, enough of that. It happens to everyone that always does it. I'm the only one that sees it as like.
I'm sure everyone will appreciate your honesty. I mean, obviously people do outsource for different reasons. Some people have full-time jobs, so that, and a family, and they're kind of unable to do it, kind of thing. So everyone has different paths and different journeys, kind of thing. And you, for yourself, you outsource, then you brought it back in, then you outsource, then you kind of brought it back in. And that's what I love about the way that you do this business, Luke, is because it's, you've tested everything. You've tested everything. You've arrived at this strategy, and it works for you. Now, your strategy is again, it's working phenomenally for you, and all credit where credit is due, because you've tested the system and you've tested what works for you and you tested what hasn't worked for you, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, even what you're doing now, which, and you're doing phenomenally well, high sales, high profit. Like I said, really bucking the trend of what a lot of people do in OA. Because I know you have very high profit in what you do as well. You know,
but it's not necessarily on one unit. This is like the thing I like.
Unit,
exactly. On one unit, it might look like crap. Like it might just look like a joke. Yeah, like it might be like, what on earth? But it's not about one unit. It's about if I can do 10,000 units, but at a cheap unit cost. Yeah, no one think, no one really. Everyone does go, oh, you've got a really like. People are surprised by my unit. I think my average unit cost when I put a post out was like £9 something. That's a sell price.
Yeah, that's your.
So my buy price is going to be like under £5 or something, or well, I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
But it does depend if it's a 0% product and all that kind of thing as well. But and it's just like, but not only is it that, but it doesn't cost me much to get it anyway. So therefore, it doesn't really matter that it's like I do it that way because the risk on those products is low because it's cheap to get 100 or something. That there's lots of different reasons why I do it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, you've tested what works for you and what works for you, someone else, because you do buy in high volume, but you only buy in high volume once you've tested the market. So it's not like it's not that risk. You're actually kind of from what I know from you is it sounds like you're a really risky person, but you're not. You're someone who tests the market, who kind of like says, okay, I'm not going to invest in that until I know it works, kind of thing. But you have got to test along the way, of course.
In a way, it is like I get why people say it's risky because you're kind of like blind faithing. You're basically you're going off you make a decision on something that isn't you, that you haven't actually done. So like you could be I know that the bigger decisions are I accumulate the data, I then refine it, but it's still people go, what if Amazon jump on listing for what if like but I kind of like, which I get, but the reason that I do what I do is because I know that they won't like, so everyone thinks it's a risky strategy what I'm doing, but actually it's like, to me it's the opposite of the risky strategy. It's actually the most boring and like almost like a playing like chess or checkers. It's just like it's very slow. There's not much, there's I know in its complex, like each piece only moves a certain bit, but together playing a game it can be complex and it can create something completely different every time. But it's kind of like that anyway. Sometimes I get carried away. I could go on forever talking about random stuff. Like I end up just getting caught up.
I think it's a really interesting kind of strategy. And as Hayden says, different strategies, different work for different people. He's enjoying multiple layers of strategies rather than all in on one. Obviously, you don't just do high volume and fast movers and things like that.
Some of the products I probably sell like I buy 3 Playmobil lines, like 3 because obviously you can't buy many Playmobil. I get 3 Ferris wheels or something, and like 50 quid, get 10 quid, and I don't even really care. People know. I'm not sure what others have sold, but the ranking looks terrible. It looks like it sells 3 every 6 weeks or something. But so I do add those in. It's just more the merrier in a way. But like I've just figured out a way to like maximize the volume side of it over time. I guess is what it is more than anything. Because the thing I like about what I do is that. The risk reduces. That's the one I'm The risk of what I do reduces because to get that data to know what each item really its true yearly value or 6-month value is, it takes ages to actually be able to see what it can do. So that's number one. And then number 2 is that also to do all of this, sometimes obviously, and then to spread the lines, you've got to have a bit more capital because you've got to be able to you've got to be in stock enough.
Yeah.
Which means that you have to be in the game for a while to build up and accumulate that capital to a point where you can then do it, which means that a lot of other people can't enter that strategy because of those barriers. So there's a couple of things that on the surface people might think, oh, it's a bit of it's a bit, why are you only going for like I don't know, whatever it is. Some items 30p, I think I did a post, 30p. But if I can sell 50 a day, and I can just go and buy some more tomorrow and keep. And then that's not even like full on Q4 because it's kind of like a Q4 product. It's like, yeah.
I think it's really interesting perspective. And would it be fair comment to say that your strategy is the long game?
In theory, it just gets to a point where it's very boring. And it takes time. Like it's the same stuff, just different day, almost. and I feel like it can be fully outsourced because you're not looking for new deals. Therefore, you don't have to put the business's life on the line by letting a BA make a decision, because you're like, no, I need to make a decision. But there isn't really any of those decisions they don't really come around often. I do add to the core of the business, but a lot of it's already there. So as long as you can just interpret the data properly, it can be done. And that obviously in London, it does take longer. But in terms of like, if someone can go in 5 years, you can have it fully outsourced, doing £1 million turnover. Well, outsourced as you want. You can obviously do it in house if you want. It can be full. But yeah, you might only be making like, I say, 100 grand a year on £1 million turnover, which is not, to a lot of people, huge. But it's like, but then in my mind, it's all that, because I'm selling the same items, the risk kind of does dissipate over time, because the more you're selling an item, the less likely it is to cause any problems. The VA isn't really making any rash decisions on stuff. You're not selling something that's brand new tomorrow that could get you an IP warning or something. Like, you're sourcing that. So therefore, it is a longer term strategy, because I feel like it's in a position to be able to exist longer term than a lot of the other sort of ways to do it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And you outsource, like I said, obviously when you outsourced, and Jodie says, if you are scaling up, which is what you had to do, you had to make that point. We talked about it extensively at the point in the year when you did it. You knew that you couldn't do what you needed to do, which was very much part of your plan, without outsourcing now. So you're very much on the outsourcing train.
But then obviously that opened up pallets. And for me, I'm like amazed at pallets. I'm like, oh my, I've never done 10 pallets, but if I do 10 pallets, I don't know how many boxes, but on an average consistency basis, it will probably save me 500 quid than just doing it through standard UPS. Well, I only have to do 10 pallets 4 times a month, and that's the profit that I need for the month. I don't even really have to do much in the actual business.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but these things never were even apparent to me. And people might have talked about pallets now and then, but not really. I never saw anything concise on the subject as such. And I'm like, oh, okay. So by me doing that as well, it's not trying to look out, push yourself out your comfort zone a little bit more. Because like I was probably the last one to want to get rid of like the manual side of like the prep thing. But like this month, my prep bill was £6.5 grand. Wow, what have we just had? October, £6.5 grand. But that, it's like it's starting to notch up a bit now. But it is Q4, and I've got to accept that.
You have got to accept. Because you are living in Lithuania, you are living the kind of digital nomad lifestyle, and I absolutely believe it was the right time for your business. So you would not be enjoying the results you are now. I don't think. I'm going to put, stick my neck out and say, I don't think you would be enjoying the results you are now had you have stayed in the UK and you were kind of prepping yourself, because it was just you prepping yourself. You didn't even have any help or anything from that point of view, and you'd be in a wheelchair as well because your back would be broken.
Yeah, no, ultimately it was my back, and then it was like, well, things started presenting themselves, and I was like, you know what? Like, not only is the back getting annoying, but a couple of things were opening up. I was like, just it's kind of like a sign. It's like not just one sign, but like 4 signs. My back's gonna get like disintegrate in like 3 months anyway, so that's a big one. But then there's other little things. I thought, whatever, let's just go. So sometimes I trust, like I like to trust in the heart, and not the heart, the feelings. Like it felt right to go for it, and it seems to work. So
yeah. Now, Jodie says, when you're making decisions to outsource, how do you determine if it's beneficial? Do you cost it, or do you determine the volume is better managed by outsourcing because you can better spend your time elsewhere?
That's actually something people always say, like, oh, I want to outsource because my time, I could do a lot with it. But I just found that half the time I was looking out the window, looking at the people going into McDonald's for like 3 hours a day. When I moved to Lithuania, I was like, I was like, what on earth? What did you do? Because everything that it wasn't like I had. I don't know. Everyone always says you must be working so hard doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, half the time I don't do anything. I'm like, what am I going to do with more time? I thought to myself, I barely like do a lot in my time anyway. Like, I don't have like hour blocks, and so I was like, well, for me that wasn't apparent, because if I want to do it, I'll do it anyway, and it's half, so. But that is okay. But some people might need that depending on your strategy as well, because a lot of the work for my strategy has already happened. I don't need to.
Yeah, you've already strategized. Yeah.
So actually, it becomes not only better with long term, but it's 50 times easier because you don't do anything because you've done all the work. So it was kind of like that. But then I thought I wanted to also move abroad. So the decision to move abroad was like, if I don't do it now, I probably won't do it. And even if it doesn't work out, I need to actually do it and see. I can't just. So that was another big thing for me. Obviously, the back was destroyed, so I had to do something. But I could have just done the easy stuff and phased it. I would say that's quite a good idea. Phase it out to a prep service or something if you're thinking about outsourcing, even if it's sort of like a VA or something. But get them like 1 day a week or 2 days a week, maybe a VA, instead of just going all out. Or maybe sending.
I agree with that.
It's kind of like doing it like that. So you're slowly like tiering your expenses away up or away from you.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that, Luke, because I think what can happen when you go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, as in you've never sent to a prep center before, and then all of a sudden you start sending 5,000 units through a prep center, it can be a bit of a shock to the system, because most prep centers, I can only speak on ours, obviously, from our point of view, most prep centers will invoice kind of, I don't know, once a month or once every couple of weeks. So it's not like you're paying out physically for your sending that stuff in. So you only get a true realization of what you're going to pay for prep when you get that bill through. And then sometimes it's a massive shock and it really scares people. And it's like, shit, oh my God, I've got £1,000 bill for prep and I haven't sold the stuff yet. Now I've got to lay that out, and it's all about cash flow management, and it scares people. And that's when people tend to go back. But I love what you say. If outsourcing is for you, and this would be good for Sean, actually, because I know he says he's growing faster, doing as much as he can, but now he's at the point where he needs help. Pick your battles. Choose the prep center that's going to, take the heavy. Sorry, it's like a little fly buzzing around. That is going to, take the biggest bulk and the time-consuming part off of your prep. That's the important thing to do. Look at it,
or like send in the volume products that are volume from away to a prep service, and then get them just to do pallets, hold it up for a little bit longer, make some savings on the pallets, offset those overall prep fees by sending pallets. There still might be a cost at the end, but it's not so much of the detrimental effect of the business, and but then your long-term growth is going to show.
And there's a good chance that not everything that you send to a prep center will get accepted by a prep center. Had conversations with people today about a certain retailer that doesn't. A lot of prep centers don't accept anymore. Same with certain supermarkets and things like that. Just be prepared. It's an interesting, question to pose yourself. If you can't get those to a prep center, obviously, I know the question for you, Luke, because you can't, because you're not physically.
I went 4 years prepping myself pretty much. Mm-hmm. But I then thought that if I've saved £60,000 doing, I probably I'll just say 60 grand. That 60 in 1 year, definitely this year, for example, could have made me another 60 grand. So I've not made an extra. I've not saved or made 60 grand by self prepping. Mm-hmm. I've made 120 grand by self prepping over 4 years. I'll take that. I'd be stupid not to say, if someone said do that for 4 years, it's 120 grand in your back pocket. So I see it like that. That's the way I look at a lot of things. I kind of see like the knock on of an impact.
Whereas I see prep as boring as F, so I'm not interested, and I'd rather get someone else to do it. So absolutely, different horses for different courses, and everybody has different strategies. But I think I love with you that every time I talk to you about this type of thing, there's always a strategy behind it. Whereas I outsource prep because I hate prep. That's not strategic. It's just I hate doing it. I don't like doing it.
That's why you've got Matt there as well, just to like balance the shift sometimes, I guess.
Yeah,
if you let it.
Yeah. Oh, Matt is the prep king. He's the human scale when it comes to prep, as he calls himself. So he can pick up a box and know how much it weighs. So he's the human scale. I think I've called him that.
Yeah, that's what I used to. I never weighed a box for 4 years. Not that you should be doing that. Yeah. I literally would pick it up and like, yeah, it's like 14, 15. Yeah. And I was like, no, that's a bit over. And yeah, that was the way everyone used to say, how do you weigh your boxes? I might just pick it up and say, just go, what? So yeah, that was me.
Can I just point out, everyone, as well, that is our own shipments, not anything that goes through Easy Prep or anything. Don't think Matt's there lifting up, because Matt doesn't, both Matt and I is pretty much outsourced. We're not really at the prep center anymore anyway. So I just point that out to anyone who thinks, oh, that's the way that they weigh boxes at Easy Prep. Matt just picks them up. It is, we do have industrial scales, don't worry. Let's go back to the comments. So Susan's joined us. Evening, Susan. And somebody said, I'm not sure the comment, actually, it's on YouTube, Financial Freedom Academy. I outsourced from day one because I'm in the Middle East. Absolutely.
Sometimes you've got to do what you got to do, basically.
Yeah, if you're geographical, you've got to do it. So each to their own. Business changes so rapidly, you need to be flexible. Absolutely, that's a really interesting point, and why I put up the Charles Darwin quote that I put up this week, and especially with this Q4 and going into lockdown, change is going to be how people adapt to this current situation with what's going on now is going to have a huge impact, I think, on people's Q4. Now, if it carries on exactly the same as it is, and FBA is, open and there's no issue for non-essential shipments or anything like that whatsoever, then absolutely, I think that, Q4 will just be phenomenal for people and everyone's going to enjoy it as it is. Now, obviously, if Amazon start moving the goalpost, if they start restricting certain things, if they start restricting FBA, now I'm of the opinion, so it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts, Luke. I don't think they will restrict FBA again during this period. I don't think they will. I think they're more prepared for it. I think more retailers are prepared for it anyway. I think you could start seeing more along the lines of seeing individual units restricted. So more along the lines of if a unit starts to become saturated, say for instance like the big yellow Lego that you get from Morrison's or Tesco's once a year or something like that, then
Georgia one, that
one. Sorry, Morrison's or Asda, something like that, that big box of 900 pieces of Lego that everyone and their dog buys. If they start seeing something like that, I think you'll start seeing more of individual lines or ASINs will start to be restricted. I think that's what we could start to see more than.
I was just randomly, I had a thought that popped to my head, so it sounded good to me anyway. But what about like restricting sellers depending on like for example, like if these sellers are selling stuff and they're doing well, would you not want them to continue? But other people that are, just like with a lot of the stuff they're doing with the IPIs and stuff, do you not think they would?
I think that's the
long. I don't know. I'm just randomly. It just came in my head, and I thought, well, that's what I would do if I was Amazon. That's what I would do. And I'm like,
I don't think they're queued up for that now, this Q4, but I completely agree. The IPI is going to have wider consequences for sellers. I mean, it has been made kind of absolutely clear, and I think a lot of people are on the agreement of that the IPI is there for a reason, and it obviously favors fast sellers, good levels of replenishment, sell-through rate, not holding lots of stock, sending it in and it's selling, everything from an arbitrage point. It favors more of a private label model, obviously, fast moving kind of private, or what you do, Luke, of course. So I think that there will be wider consequences to the IPI, but not this Q4. I don't think they're geared up for it yet. But so I don't think they'll be restricting sellers. I think it will be more ASINs. I don't think they've got as advanced technology wise Amazon are. I don't think they're geared up for that yet, but possibly maybe in the future, who knows? That might be something that they might do.
It's hard. It's hard to say because I always think what would I do, and then I just like go with that. I mean, it doesn't mean it's right, but like
Yeah.
I just hope that it is. I guess.
Yeah, I think I think we've seen masses of changes in 2020 with Amazon and the way that they operate. But I think 2021 I think we're going to see some huge changes on Amazon with regards to sellers, and another clear indication. If you're not selling on Amazon now, start now. Luke and I have talked about this before, and I think we're both definitely in the agreement that for new sellers, it's only going to get harder to start selling.
And they may have periods of like opening and closing, like because they used to have that with the merch website, didn't they?
Yeah.
Not that merch was like an amazing thing, but it was a thing that like on some of their platforms they have closed, or it's taken a hell of a long time to get actually like an opened account. Like you can apply for it, but it doesn't mean that you actually get anything for months. Basically.
Yeah. Well, seller verification's taking a really long time at the moment, and there's lots of different things and hoops that you have to jump through now. You're supposed to have some sort of buying account now that can be linked to your selling account in order to get verified for Amazon to see that you are the true person that you are, because lots of people that kind of get suspended by limited companies and that type of thing. So I think the whole kind of ungating and I think, sorry, going back to what I was saying about what I think might happen in this Q4, I think you might see a new wave of gatings as well. I think that could be an option. That could be a route that Amazon could go down, because it's just one button that they would just kind of press and they could automatically gate a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So I think that could be an impact. But I think we're already seeing the start of it becoming harder for new sellers to start and kind of not build momentum, because I think once you're verified, once you're started and once you're going, you can absolutely do it. It's just that there's going to be more barriers to entry. Amazon's going to start not restricting people, but not make it as easy as it has been to be able to start selling on Amazon. That's my kind of 2 cents anyway. Let's read some comments, because we've everyone's been commenting. I've seen comment while I've been chit-chatting away. I'm going to go on my phone, actually. Where are we?
I mean, a lot of these aren't always, they're not massive. It's not a massive amount of questions for us. I don't think there's a lot of just sort of chit chat.
I know
not that we can't talk about those. Of course we can, but
yeah, I know.
We're not missing all the questions for us. So.
No. I get some on my phone, and I get some on here as well.
Okay.
So Fahana's joined us evening. So Hayden said he outsourced prep to start with, but not outsourced anything else until he's checked his monthly expenses for a few months. Absolutely. Always check those expenses. I always say that to people when they say, oh, what shall I put down as my average cost of prep? Well, you have to do it for a month and then check the average. Then once you've done it for a month, then you have to do it for another month and then check the average. And then you have to do it for another month and then check the average. So then you've got your quarterly average. And then when you get to the point when you've been doing it for a year, you can take it over a year if you want to. That's the true reflection of what your actual costs are, not what something costs you on one given day.
The way that I'm not that I'm trying to, maybe I'm looking at, I'm open to it, is that every single month next year, whatever I've made profit in, I basically won't need to take any money from Amazon in theory ever. Well, you kind of get what I mean, ever. As in, I don't need to take it to live. So unless I want to. So it's like, well, whatever I make in month one, I try to make sure that I use that amount to at least using that amount as a reinvestment figure. I almost don't want to make any profit until let's say my focus is Q4. So I'm reinvesting everything. That could be trying to send in as many pallets as I can, because in my mind, if I can send in more pallets and spend more money on pallets, the saving on pallets will have the effect, the knock-on effect down the line. Obviously, you could then buy more stock. You could get a VA with that, or however you want. But it's trying not to make a profit for as long as you can, and then letting that go almost, and letting everything just come out at the end. That sounds wrong, but like December. If you can have a £400,000 December, but you got no expenses because you've literally built everything up over that 11 months, then you don't need to spend anything. You literally just come December 1st or the end of November, you don't do any work. So everything's done. You could do, 500,000. I know that sounds to some people like, is that even possible? But I could, to me, it's like, yeah, I can easy. Like, as in, I could easily see it. What's what I'm saying.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
And it's like that's when you would make what you're trying to realize. Anyway, yes.
No, absolutely. I did have a point, but I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
Yeah, I realised.
That's all right. Doesn't matter. It's not normally I'm lost for words, so it's fine. Yes, Emmanuel, I did say a naughty word. Sorry. So Jody says, Jody is Matt's wife, who Matt Baker came on a couple of weeks ago, 7-figure seller, and told us all about their business and, and everything they've been through building their Amazon business. So Jody says this is their plan. They have a VA. She's exceptional. Prep Center could not deal with their volume. They offered us a credit of 1,300 to go back and try again with them. Oh, that must have been like an incentive, but we couldn't take the risk. I guess our situation is we can't afford for teething problems. Absolutely. And again, we see that quite a lot as well, don't we, Luke? That once a seller gets to a certain point, sometimes they even bring their prep back in-house and then doing it themselves.
Yeah, again, I mean, I've already thought that because like $6,500 every month is like, I look at these figures, I'm like, oh my God, well, not figures, but these sums. And it's like, not only that though, I was thinking about next year, next Q4. So I was trying to think, right, imagine, because the problem with the prep centers is that as you come into December, you could have quite a lot of problems with it. There's the time, the logistical duration is just could be a week, could be 10 days. But by doing it to myself, next day delivery and sending it out the same day is 1 day or maybe 2 if you were that slow. And then it's like, okay, well, what if they had loads more demand? How can I predict how many other people are sending more stock in that period? I always have to stop the first week of December. Well, you can make 20 grand profit in those last couple of weeks. Where if you could, so by bringing it in house, you can always pay for your unit for a year just by utilize. Basically, you'd have to stock already like ready to then facilitate the move directly to Amazon. So you'd have already been preempting the purchases before you actually need to send them in. So you don't have to buy them from the retailer and then send them to Amazon. They're already waiting to go. As soon as you check yesterday's sales, you sold 50. Today you're sending in 50 because you've already got the stock ready and waiting.
Yeah.
And then because it's your own warehouse, you can fire everything off instantly. And it's like that. I'm trying to think like, not only will I make a saving overall, but you could just make another whatever amount in that little period there, which could pay for the whole unit. Maybe not all the staff and all that, but it could pay for a chunk of something anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that opens up a lot more windows or opportunity. You can start doing like liquidation stock for Amazon and having some fun with that and selling it on eBay or whatever you want to do, where you obviously have the premises now where you can start to do things. But
yeah, no, definitely. Jody's just clarified it was a credit of £13. I thought, what is a crowd, like crowdfunding or something? Thanks for clarifying that. 4 years. Paul says his is Paul. Sorry, Sean says his is 2 years so far. But he also does eBay, so he hopes to get a life soon, which is good. Philip says, I talk to Philip all the time. He's maxed out his business prepping himself. He sources 1.5 days, 3.5 days prepping, waste of his time. Absolutely. I think Phil's you've reached the absolute ceiling of what you can do on your own at this stage. So a few people talking about kind of VAs. I think Farhana says she's not getting loads of great deals off of her VAs at the moment. I think it's Matt Webley who said, is it Matt Webley that says you need to, what is it, hire slow and fire fast or something like that when it comes to VA?
1 second, turn the heating down for a sec. I'm not disappearing. I'm just.
You're having a beer, Luke. You're overheating because you're having some alcohol to celebrate your success. That's why. But yeah, Farhana, I think it is Matt that says, I think that's one of his phrases that he always says, you need to hire slow and fire fast when it comes to VAs, because I know exactly what it's like when you get kind of like a bad VA or something like that. We feel like we've got this obligation towards them. And it's it's 100% right. It's like with hairdressers, if you go to a hairdresser and they do your hair really bad, but you don't want to leave them, because people never leave hairdressers. And it's the same with VAs. If they're not delivering what you need from your business, and 2 deals a day is not acceptable, no. So you need to kind of take stock and get rid, really. That's what I think. Let's have a quick look. Sue says, Ari weighing boxes. She knows she can't lift 15 kilos, so that's what works for her. So there we go. That's a really good way to look at it. Definitely. That's what I was going to ask you, Luke. I remembered what I was going to ask you, actually, which was, you've got a new problem now, though, haven't you?
What?
Yeah. You've got a new problem, as in, you said it yourself earlier, you've run out of cash. So
I've actually, you know what? I've even had to, like, because as well. Not only that is that, and I need to get this sorted. I only have a £1,000 on my where my Amazon money goes is to my HSBC account, UK one.
Mm-hmm.
But I could only send £1,000 from that at any one day. So to pay a prep center, I've got to send 1,000 for 7 days, because it was £6,500. To obviously get the money out. I should really just change it to go into my Sterling account, because I should have really upped the limit like 4 years ago, but I haven't. And so I've had to go. And so now it's like, not only do I have to be annoying, and it's just like and yeah.
Yeah, you need
and
to
then
change.
But yeah, I have run out of money, because at the moment I'm almost like, and an interesting thing that I've also just, it's given me a little, just because I've run out of money. I've started thinking like, okay, so how can I be proactive in trying to get something before I have the money?
Out the window, yeah.
Well, a thing that I always used to do is pay by PayPal, and it doesn't come out till tomorrow or something like that. So you can pay by PayPal, not on every website, but then as long as I can see if I'm getting my Amazon money tomorrow on the pending, and then I can basically gain a day for free. That's what I've always done. But another thing is, with wholesale, because they're a little slower sometimes, I can I can build up my shipment, put through the order, get the order, because then they have to make sure they have the stock and everything, because obviously there's a lot of people trying to buy it, and then they send me the pro forma about a day later, or sometimes even 2 days later. But if I know I'm going to have the money in 2 days, I'll be proactive in juggling that, so that I get the pro forma the day that I get the money, pay it instantly, and so it's all about cutting down that, which is in theory me gaining the money back. In my mind, I'm gaining the money back because I'm doing everything earlier, as if I had the money. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not waiting until I have the money to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good strategy. Obviously, because you've got daily disbursements anyway as well, so that.
Well, yeah. Even if you've got 2 weeks, if you still, but obviously at the moment I'm getting larger sums, so I'm now every couple of days getting a lot, because obviously that's the only benefit that a longer term seller will get, is that at the moment I'll be getting maybe 4 or 5 grand a day because of the sales that I'm doing the last couple of days, which is then meaning that I can get quicker, and then that does have a compound effect. But that kind of is what it is, really. So
yeah,
that's something that's been around forever. So it's.
I love the way you think, Luke, because I would just think, okay, if I didn't have the money, I'd think, right, I'd wait until I got the money in the bank. But you're absolutely right. The money's coming, so you might as well be proactive and get a 2-day jump on that order. So as soon as the money comes in, you can pay that. So yeah, I think that's a really it's a really good gold nugget, definitely. I've lost my pace where I was in the questions. So someone says Amazon have already implemented this. Not sure 100% what we were talking about. Oh, maybe when we were talking about what Amazon to do with the IPI scores. Yeah, sorry guys, I've let the comments get really behind tonight. Let's have a quick look. Lots of people talking about, but I think just kind of talking between themselves about the IPI score. A lot of people agreeing that the fact that it's that's going to have more of an impact on what Amazon are going to do. Emmanuel says he's got loads of questions, but they never get answered. But they will never get answered. I haven't seen any questions, Emmanuel. Only apart from my foul language.
What has Luke got against VAs, if at all? I have a VA, Emmanuel. Okay. Is that enough questions?
No, you've got VAs now, haven't you? So yeah, that's.
I've got one, yeah, and I'm getting them just to like go. I'm pretty much just getting them to capture Q4 leads early as possible, so that I can buy them an hour earlier, which means that they might ship it quicker. Which means just little things like that. Just kind of trying to clear up all that loose. Pretty much getting the VA just to source similar products to what I've purchased already over last Q4, but looking for the variations and all that kind of thing, which takes a bit of time. Looking at the products I've sold historically that are Q4 related, and then looking for their brother and sisters and all that kind of thing. But it just means I'm getting the data quicker. That's all, and then I'm slowly feeding them tasks, admin tasks. But yeah, so I do have a VA actually, full time.
Absolutely. And let's have a quick look. Dan says our plan next year is to get a unit as we do private label and OARA, and we need to flow the stock slower into Amazon for private label to reduce any Amazon storage costs. And obviously there's 200 unit limit for new products anyway as well. This will allow us to purchase more as our kitchen is full. Absolutely. Made that transition definitely. It makes that transition so good when you go for that unit and you end up doing it. And like we said, we've talked many times, different strategies for different people. Try things out and see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I would probably say, and I don't know if you're agreeing, Luke, Q4 is not the time to be testing stuff. Really, you want to be testing stuff outside of Q4. So when it comes to Q4, you can execute what you've been testing to the maximum capacity.
Yeah. The only thing I'd add to that is that there are products that I've sold over some Q4s before, and because I literally see the data in the keeper chart identical to that in products I haven't yet sold, but I know that they're very similar products. I therefore most of the time will say that is in my mind the same product, because it doesn't really matter what you see; it's what it represents as a person. Let's say it's a box of chocolates. A box of chocolates is a box of chocolates. It doesn't really matter exact. Yeah, there's like variance in like preferences and stuff, but people pretty much know a box of chocolates, box of chocolates. So, and if I see the data is pretty much being identical to something else, I won't. Actually, I'll do the opposite of testing. I'll go and buy like 300 of that, because I'll pretend in my head that it's like the other product.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like, but I have tested in my mind, I've tested it, but historically on something else, knowing what that potential is of like subject A, and then I can implement that on subject B as if it was that one. But that's not quite testing, but it is in a way in my mind, because I've already done that testing part. And therefore I'm able to sell things that I wouldn't maybe necessarily sell in Q4 at that volume, but I've done it before to know. So that's where like previous Q4's experience helps, because I can go and with confidence buy hundreds of products where I probably wouldn't have done like 2 years ago at all, because I'm able to do that.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree with Alan Sugar in the Old Apprentice days, when he used to set the task where he says to people, you need to be able to smell what sells. And that kind of links in with that as well, because once you've been doing this for a period of time, then you kind of get to smell what sells. That you may not have sold that exact same product before, but you've sold a similar product before. So you can go on that you can look at the data and you can say, okay, this reminds me of that product that I sold then. It sold really well at this time of year. So technically you should be able to, it's never going to be exactly the same, but it's going to go along with gut instinct, with research, with, all of the great software we've got with Buybot Pro and everything like that as well, that you can make much more of an informed decision. Like we're creating a lot of new listings at the moment in our business. And every listing we're creating at the moment is selling out. Yes, we're not putting 100 units in straight away, but it's because we know what to look for and we can smell what sells. We can put things together. We can say, right, we know that sells at this time of year, and it makes sense to put it with that. And it's the same kind of philosophy. Once you've been doing it for a period of time, that's what what works. And with that, it's not. It makes you sound sometimes like it's a little bit arrogant, oh, I just know what sells, kind of. But you do get that. I used to say that when I used to go out and do RA and we'd walk along the shelves and Matt would be like, oh, what about this? I'd be like, no, that doesn't sell. That doesn't sell. You know, kind of thing. And it's only because you get kind of
I used to do that as well, actually, yeah. So I'd walk in, I'd be like, no, yeah, scan. Oh, that's like 40% profit down, back in. It's like you sort of hone your skills. But it's like, yeah.
Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily mean we're right. There could have been something within those products that could have sold, absolutely. But I think you also just get too used to what you do want to sell and what you don't want to sell, and what you think is going to work and what you don't think is going to work. But again, all part of experience and testing and implementation and trying all of these different things. And that's why I felt it was really apt that Luke came on tonight, because like I said, it's this culmination, and that's why you're having your beer. It's a culmination of everything that you've done, putting it all together, and it's all just really paying off for you now. So just wanted to say well done. And you're having your beer because you were telling me beforehand, because you want to celebrate your moments as they're coming.
Yeah, because I historically I've never. You kind of don't believe it until you see it, and then when you start seeing it, you don't believe it's going to be here for the rest. You think, no, but it was just a lucky day, or it was just this, it was just that, and then when you look back at the month sales or something, you're like, oh, really, November was really, and then December happens, and you're like, oh, you only really have that realization after it's happened, because you don't believe it until you've seen the end result, and then you have Christmas, and you kind of forget about it a little bit because you kind of have Christmas Day, do all that kind of thing. You obviously then start to figure out, okay, what do I actually make over that period for the a lot of people don't instantly. I know there are ways to do it. So I normally work it out, and then January comes, and I kind of forget what then you've got like focus on the future, and then I kind of realized, like, once you get to a point, that's where I've kind of put this. I'm trying to get. I think I've got like 17 or 18,000 units in stock at the moment, even with the kind of $6.5 grand days, $5.5 grand days, what I've been doing the last couple of days. But it's like I want to ramp that up to 20. I want that to keep going up and just sort of really push it. But I want to kind of like hit it hard while I'm doing it, but also like celebrate it and appreciate it as the days roll through, and not wait until that end, because that means you're only really celebrating 1 week maybe in the whole year, which isn't a massive amount. And then you're probably having a lot of down moments, as businesses have in general. So 1 week isn't a lot, when you definitely have your downtimes. Things don't go so well, or I know this year's been decent for everyone, but how do you know? If you look at a 5-year time scale, how do you know what's going to be your ups and downs? And it's like trying to just sort of expand that, and then trust in the process as well while it's happening. Don't go, oh, but it's too early to celebrate because you've got to wait till the end result, because don't jinx it. But it's like, that doesn't really, like, jinxing it is kind of like a superstition, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, it's like luck. I don't really believe in it. It obviously, people represent it in a word called luck, but it's more about preparation. It's opportunity. And
it's totally being in the right place at the right time. I think it's the thing I talk most about. It's about being in the right place at the right time. But guess what? Who put you in that position? You did. So that's what it comes down to. Yeah, obviously I do believe in luck. There is a little bit of luck, but you got to put yourself in that position to take advantage of the luck. That's what it comes down to. So, well, I believe in luck and I don't believe in luck. So Emmanuel says, what is the best managerial style? Loads of questions about VAs tonight, actually. I think lots of people have been saying that they've, paid out for a service that hasn't worked out for them. So I think a lot of people are kind of trying VAs and it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. So any kind of thoughts? What's the best managerial style to adopt with regards to VAs?
Well, I've only had mine for like 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, okay.
3 weeks, 2 weeks. But the only thing I do, I'm pretty laid back. I don't really care. It's almost like doing something. As long as I kind of do what I want to do, I don't really care how it goes.
Like, do you check in daily?
Sorry, do I?
Do you check in with them daily? Do you have like daily calls with them?
I speak to. I normally speak to them every week on Skype for like a little bit just to see how it's going. But I'll message back and forth now and then just to give tips or hints. I'll do videos, like this is how I want you to do this. I'll do it for them, send them a video. But then I say, actually, I said to them, like, if you don't like this and you think it's pretty shit, just tell me, and I'll try to get you not doing it. Because like that's kind of how I want them to be. Like, I don't really believe in like the hierarchy. I don't really believe in hierarchy as such, because like I used to like look at my directors and think, why can't I speak to them equal to me? Because and so like I want people to talk to me like I talk to them. Like if they think they don't like it, just tell me, and then I know, and then I can try to like move. So I want them to be like, if you don't like it, tell me, and I'll be like, yeah, I know it's really boring, but you can just watch it really quick and then like move on, and then like try to remember it, and and I'm trying to be like that so that they don't feel like I'm trying to dictate to them what to do. And then in theory, they're in control of it. If they prefer like looking over analytical data in the long term, then I'll try to move them over to looking at the analytical data, because I know that now. And so I try to, because I don't want them to train them up or something and then them leave or something to happen. I'd rather, and I even said to her as well, that worst case, watch all my YouTube videos, learn everything I'm telling you. And if you end up going to another job, well, at least you know for the next job. I even said that because I'm like, everyone leaves. Like, I've left a job, everyone's leaving, so you kind of got to accept that will happen. It's like, actually, in theory, maybe she can get some more money next time, like, because she knows all the ins and outs. So I even said that. So that might even make her be a bit more interested in everything she's learning. I don't know. That's how I go about it anyway, which is probably the opposite of everyone else.
Well, no, it's working for you, Luke, 100%. So Emmanuel said it's a collaborative approach, which I actually, I mean, I'm a little bit of I've employed loads of people over the years. I'm pretty, I was going to say I'm pretty crap. I'm not, I'm, when it comes to employees, I'm really good to work with kind of one-to-one, because I'm really good at teaching people how to do stuff. It's, and that type of thing. But I suppose from a remote point of view, I do find that quite difficult with training and working with people. And I'm like because I really dive into the data on all the deals. I'm just sort of like, I just kind of like, no, that's not a good deal for me. But maybe I don't explain myself as to the reasons why, because I just know myself. So I think communication is absolutely key. And the reason why I say that is because I know that that's one of the things I'm not very good at, and why I haven't had much success with running VAs myself and hiring VAs myself, because I've never had much success with that, because I don't think I'm communicative enough as I should be. And I know the people that do very well with VAs have the kind of collaborative approach, and communicate really often, and have that kind of laid back kind of approach to it, essentially. So whereas I'm a bit like, okay, this isn't working out for me but maybe I haven't delivered the support that needed to be there in the first place. I don't know. So it's interesting. I think people work in different ways. So let's just have a quick look at a few final comments. I think just a few people talking about that. Susan says managerial style depends on the person. Yeah, that's what I was trying to kind of say, but worded it badly. Was depends on the person. If your VA is based outside of the UK, it helps to have an understanding of the culture. That's really interesting. Many cultures only respond to a certain element of discipline if they are happy to be told what to do rather than to be empowered. Yes, I completely agree with that. That's such I suppose, to be culturally sensitive as well and understanding of different cultures. Yes, that would make 100%. And Jody said, have a clear written policy and procedures, which is really important to have productivity as well. So thanks for the comments, guys. That's very, very much appreciative on that. Maybe at some point we'll have a kind of a VA session where we can get someone on and talk about kind of management of VAs and that type of thing. So I know it's a big part of people's businesses. But talking of people that are coming on, I just thought it'd be an apt moment to say, Luke, I don't think you're on for like another month again. Sorry.
It's like the face.
It might even be longer than a month.
No, I think it might be. It's some sort of December, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know it's sometime in December.
It's definitely at some point in December. It's because we have a we have an excellent lineup of people coming on. Never mind the buy box, and next week this is a fan favorite for all of you guys. I can confirm that Mark Hawley is going to be on next week. So for anybody that doesn't know Mark is a qualified accountant who specializes in Amazon sellers. So, which is in itself, a rarity in this kind of world. So he's a fully qualified accountant who also understands how to sell on Amazon as well. I know many of you guys watching Newsmarket Passive Tax and, say, he's absolutely phenomenal at what he does and he knows all his stuff. So next week it'll probably be more of a Q&A type session. So what I'm going to do is some point in the week, maybe around the weekend, start of the weekend, something like that, I'm going to pin a post in Secret Wealth Project for specific accountancy questions to be asked during this kind of Q&A. Because it's really valuable, really valuable to be able to ask a qualified accountant these type of questions. And Mark's fantastic. If he can answer, he will. If he can't, he won't. It's just, it's simple as that. Sometimes things just can't be answered in this kind of setting. But yeah, so I'm going to pin a post somewhere in Secret Wealth Project. So we've got questions to ask. So as you think of them throughout the week, you can pop them in there, but obviously we'll be answering questions live as we go. It'll probably end up being like a 3-hour marathon. Hopefully he's not watching and that hasn't put him off.
And I'll be in bed by the end of that anyway, wouldn't I? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke will be in bed, so he won't be watching. But it's something that I urge everybody to try and attend live next week if you can. I know a lot of you guys like watching this on replay, so you can speed us up and put us on like 2 times speed or 1.5 speed or whatever. But please, 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 if you can, try and attend live next week, because you're going to get the opportunity to ask Mark live questions about accountancy and your business. And this guy knows his stuff 100%. So it's going to be really valuable. Never mind the buy box, hopefully. Right, let's just check in. So yeah, I think a few people are excited about that for next week. So yeah, Luke, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
I've been up for a while actually. That's probably so. I was quite ready, ready, raring to go on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we've got loads of special guests coming up, and we've got we've got 8-figure seller coming in the next few weeks as well. So someone who is absolutely smashing it up and smashing it up and throwing it out the window, when it comes to selling on Amazon. So that is going to be phenomenal. Never mind the buy box as well. And I think a couple of weeks after that, we've got some very new people that are going to be joining us on Never Mind the Buy Box as well to talk about something very, very new as well. So I'm just really excited about everything that's going to be coming up over the coming weeks between now and Q4. But as ever, any questions, pop them in the group. We always try our best to answer them. Luke, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep us updated.
I am.
Yeah, absolutely. We know, I know that. Oh, just very quickly before we go, do you think November is going to be a better month than December? With lockdown?
I reckon the end of November. I don't know if the month of November will be higher than December, but I think the busiest period could be the end of November rather than going into December. So it will start a little earlier, and the boom will be a little bit more in sort of like the end of November, and then it will still be obviously high because it always is. But yeah, so I'm thinking my best days or week might be around the end of December rather than say the 1st or 2nd maybe November to December. But overall, I still think December will be. I'll eat my head. I was like, oh, could I be cheeky and say 250 grand December? But then I was like, Luke, just keep as in like don't. There's no point even focusing on what I could do because it's pointless. Because just carry on with what I'm doing there, and then the results will appear. It's either going to be good, bad, or ugly, or whatever it ends up being. So kind of like, there's no point dreaming, is there?
I'm leaning towards the good, Luke. More than definitely leaning towards the good. I think personally November is possibly, could be better than December. But guess what? You'll be on again in a month, so we'll be able to talk about November.
Yeah.
You know, completely at the point. But yeah, I think Matt's just said last week of November and the first week of December are the boom weeks. Absolutely, 100%. So a week in of each. Alexander said Andy Lawrence coming back on at some point. Hope so. I'll definitely reach out to him, see if he can come back on and join us on Never Mind the Buy Box. It would be good to have him on here again. Definitely. A lot of people saying how much they enjoyed it tonight. Love the diversity that this show offers. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining us, spending the evening with us once again. Thanks to Luke. Keep on keeping on. And yeah, I wish everyone a really successful week, and I'll see you 7 o'clock next Tuesday for myself and Q&A with Mark Hawley from Passive Tax. So see you everyone. Have a good week and
bye guys.
Stay safe.
See ya.